Welcome to the Sketch Squad Antitrust Incorporated Content Creator Community TV, sponsored by Razor, Origin, NVIDIA, Discord, Extra Life, and soon to be HHO Kids Direct. Project Spirit's coming home. We got Mr. Prince Magnum himself here with us tonight in the Antitrust Content Creator Community Incorporated. You guys can hop into the Discord. We're sponsored by Discord. You want to hop into this web address right here, discord.me/sketchsquadtv. That's going to help you get one-on-one with us for rooting the development of smartphones, for what I do here for the broadcast, and DIY budget hot rodding with Prince Magnum here. Say hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
I believe I'm in the right place then.
All right, so then here, and go into the community. See that? Okay. So introduce yourself. So now you're actually in the channel.
Right.
So kind of search through this stuff and learn how to use this
Yeah,
program.
I did that, but I messed with them.
This is my actual channel. Have you even looked at the giveaway?
Yeah.
The giveaway. You can promote your channel here.
Yeah, I've done this actually. Posted new videos and
It'll
stuff.
post for you automatically though. Yeah, what's up, people? So we're here right now. And we're live. What's up? We got 7 viewers.
Awesome.
Let's turn up. Here in a little bit.
There we go.
So what's up? What's new? Prince Magnum?
Well, Project Spirit is. Oh wow.
Project Spirit's what?
On her way home this Thursday. They had a couple extra things to take care of.
What's going on? Everything cool?
So just about work. But anyhow, Project Spirit. I was like, kind of freaked out. Anyhow, Project Spirit will be done. It looks like this Thursday. Now, for those who do not know, Project Spirit is my 1975 Ford Maverick 4-door. The 4-door Mavericks are almost completely gone from the landscape. For those that do not know, in the late 80s, most of the 4-doors were crushed because scrap prices were high and the cars were scavenged to keep the 2-doors on the road. Well, because of this, the 4-doors are nearly gone completely. So mine is one of the last 4-doors for the Mavericks left, really. Which I know some people kind of turn their nose up at 4-doors, but if you've got kids, it's the perfect hot rod. If you've ever tried to cram kids in the back seat of a car like, you know what I'm talking about, trust me, you don't mind a 4-door. So Project Spirit is on her, basically her starter went out. When it went out, it took the flywheel with the starter. And they don't make flywheels for the manual transmission, you know, the 3-speed manual transmissions. They don't make those flywheels for that engine and that transmission anymore. You have to have them reconditioned. And that's exactly what we had to do. And it cost me a grand total of nearly $400 later, and had some new parts installed and all sorts of little goodies like that. We're talking, you know, Project Spirit is, you know, when I say that her engine is for the most part original, I'm not kidding. We're talking she's got a lot of original stuff to her. Her mileage is all original. Internally, The original family that owned her eventually took her engine apart, but they didn't replace anything on the inside. There was no need to. It didn't have that much in the way of wear. So put it back together with all the original parts, and Project Spirit's actually coming up on 300,000 miles on that original inline six and still going strong. Average 40 miles to the gallon on the highway on a really good clear day can get all the way up to 64. Has its top speed of 125 miles per hour, which doesn't sound super fast, but for the even for the 1960s, that's still pretty quick. And even for the 1970s, that's pretty quick. For the 1980s, that's extremely fast. In the 1980s, cars actually became a serious joke. You could really only top out at 85 miles an hour.
Right. 85, that's a joke.
Yeah. And that's in part to the electronic systems that we had at that time. We were just getting changed over to fuel injection at that time. It wasn't until the late 80s I started going away. If you remember, I don't know if you remember Terminator 2. Okay, remember when they were in that little S10 pickup, and he says the vehicle's top speed is only 85 miles an hour?
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought the car would go faster than this. That was commonplace. That was a commonplace issue.
Right.
Well, no, the problem was the computer systems couldn't keep up with the engines. As a matter of fact, I remember hearing about the...
Ludicrous.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was the 1980s. Computers were still pretty crude then.
Right.
I actually talked about this in the Polybius video, if you remember.
I heard you talking about it.
Yeah. For cars, the problem was that in the 1980s, cars had this serious issue where the computers at that time just could not keep up with the engines. Like, say, I remember hearing like the 1984 Corvette with the Crossfire fuel injection system could only top out at 85 miles an hour. A Corvette that could only top out at 85 miles an hour. No, that don't work. Yeah.
Unheard of.
And most guys ended up yanking those out and swapping it over to carburation just so they could get their speed back. And it was right on top of a Chevy 350, and 350s are known for being performance monsters.
Jesus,
yeah.
That's crazy. Well, Prince, if you're just joining the stream, Prince Franklin's here with us, talking about Project Spirit and the work that's being done on it. And we're going to take it out on live stream and, put up the dash cams and all that, windshield cams and whatnot when it's all ready.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing a Q&A for classic cars and hanging out with our viewers and our subscribers and sponsors.
And if you got any car-centric questions that maybe you're working on a project yourself, if I can answer it, I'll be glad to. Don't be afraid. Leave it in the chat. Say something. And I know with Discord we can,
we can give you individual consultation.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. May have found us someone else that'll kind of help us out, get our names out there. But anyhow, so that's good for us, right?
Right.
Okay, so again, don't be afraid to talk about, here on the Prince Magnum channel and now Sketch Squad TV, cars are a thing, classic cars especially. It's a culture, it's a lifestyle, enjoying classic cars today. And I will be the first to tell anybody that Project Spirit, if you go through my videos, you'll see tons of video footage of Project Spirit. And we just released talking about the one-off exhibition later this year, which I haven't told the date, which I will announce today and we will push. August the 7th this year, my birthday. I will my 40th birthday. We're going to get out there and we're going to let Project Spirit and I are going to break an old record of mine. which we'll get into a
In
little.
August
the 7th.
That's a while down the road.
That'll give me plenty of time.
3 months.
Yeah, I got to get into shape too, you know. Right.
Hopefully before there, I'll have a car we can take out on live stream, guys. We'll be mobile streaming shortly.
But well, regardless, you guys, we're going to take you into
a one-off exhibition for this racing.
Well, it's not necessarily a race; it's a top speed run, more or less.
The best time, man. Right.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of warn you all. Some of this won't be allowed to be streamed on certain platforms because what I'm doing is potentially dangerous.
Right. So you have to hop over to YouTube to watch it.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm doing this on my 40th birthday. Now, some of you might be asking, why are you going to risk your 1975 Ford Maverick that there's not many of them. Right. So I'm not going to tell you right now, it's special thing.
We're in the Squad TV Club right now. If you guys want to hop in the Discord and talk with us, okay. Sketch Squad TV on Discord.me. Let me see if you're actually in there.
I should be.
You're not. Okay, that's it. Connect to voice.
Oh.
Hello.
There it is.
Or speaking through the phone. Oh. Sorry, guys. Isn't that lovely?
That hurt. Hey, whatever we did, let's not do that again.
Look, I'll give you second in command, moderator, Sketch Squad supporter, friends, affiliate, officer, YouTube content creator.
Sweet.
What's up? And up here.
Oh, man. Heck yeah.
I love the second in command and shit.
See, I love that technical difficulty stuff. Not really.
So what I'm going to do is push to talk on mine.
But again, any car-centric questions, don't be afraid to ask.
Now, our gaming community, but we'll be playing some Rocket League, maybe even some PlayStation 4 Gran Turismo or something.
There you go.
Throw it in there and do it.
Again, a lot of people put down the 1970s cars, and they really weren't that bad. Some of them weren't the prettiest to look at. And I know some people are going to get upset when I say it. The AMC Pacer was an ugly car. That's just an example.
I didn't have a Pacer. Yo. That's good.
Yeah.
But put that on.
There we go.
Then you can talk into it, I think. Hello. I'll do it. Yo. All we wanted. I'm not thinking straight here.
He's good with this stuff. I am not. I'd be screaming at this thing right about now.
There we go. Can you hear me? There we go. There we go.
All right, sweet.
Push to talk is awesome.
All right, and again, don't be afraid to chat with us. Maybe you yourself. Maybe you have a project car. And kind of a heads up, I will not tell you how to do your project. I'll just give you some ideas to think about. Your project's your project, I get so upset. That's actually something that comes up every now and again in the hot rodding community, is how people will, if somebody does something to a car and another person doesn't like it, that person that doesn't like it usually has really nasty words to say. And it's like, dude, be cool, man, be cool. And I think that's a commonplace thing, but it gets to a point where there's actually, I've seen some people that'll go so far as, it's a racer vehicle. I hate that. No, that particular vehicle is just made for show. There's nothing wrong with show cars. Technically, Project Spirit's a show car. How many trophies did you get to see for her? 5 for Project Spirit, 1 for Project Vera, 2 for Project Beauty. Go right ahead. I got this. I got this.
People come on in there. If you need me, just look at it.
I think for the most part it's set up pretty well, ready to rock and roll. I think we're good. Okay, yeah, pretty much. Right. Real quick while I'm thinking about it.
When you start.
Right. That brings to mind content creator giveaway, where you guys know this stuff by now. Get on it. The more you guys donate, the quicker we could do this, and think of the kids first. While we're also on the subject, I mean, we got to pay bills. You guys want to see the content get better. We got the Patreon account. Don't forget it. All right. Now that we've got that out of the way, 2 computers here. It's scary as hell. Go to the screen. Okay. Okay. So again, while we're also on the subject,
I will take those depending on how it's going. Because 40% will need to go to the vertical level. The other 50% go to you.
Right.
But if they're buying stuff and they're commissioning, they get half that commission. Then we take 40% of the commission, put it to the content creator giveaway, and 10% to kids.
Right.
Now, if somebody's paying $20, well, half of that goes to you through my network on the streaming thing. I'll give you $1, and then 40% goes to the content creator.
Right.
To the kids, unless you want to put your 50% to the content creator or kids.
Right.
Whatever you want to do with yours.
Well, I know I'll
options,
put. Yeah, I know I'll put a little bit back in myself.
Yeah,
right.
Depends on your content.
Again, here we are talking business. Again, don't be afraid to talk. Talk car stuff. As a matter of fact, we got lots of videos coming out, kind of preparing for this big run. When we start talking street racing, going back in time, to the late 90s when I was getting into it. I know in some areas the tuner scene was starting to really come into play. Where I live, it was still more Dukes of Hazzard than Fast and Furious. Okay, which I'm not knocking anyone who likes the I like the Fast and Furious movies. I heard that they're working on number 9, and I'm excited. I know they're supposed to go all the way up to 10. That being said, again, cars like Project Spirit, there's not many of them left, and so what I'm doing is probably pretty stupid. But I know I can do it. I know Spirit can do it. Project Spirit's not just the old beater she used to be. She doesn't look like she's super great. Looks don't make them run, folks. Project Spirit is Um, you know, she's a lot better than she used to be. I've still got tons of parts over there to put on her too. But she's come a long ways from when we bought her. You know, we're talking a front disc brake conversion. She's getting a new fuel pump tomorrow. She's just got a new starter, flywheels reconditioned, new U joints, new clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing, pilot bushing. She's got her stick shift that was on the column. The old 3 on the tree is now on the floor with a Hurst shifter. You know, she's got a performance thrush turbo muffler on her, which we're going to be stripping the entire exhaust and redoing that. Probably going with another, probably with a Cherry Bomb turbo muffler. 2.5-inch exhaust. We've updated the electronic ignition system with an Excel supercoil. Probably going to see about changing that over completely to an HEI style distributor, just to simplify things, because the aftermarket for HEI distributors is just much more broad. And eventually we're going to see about getting rid of the external voltage regulator and going to something that's more of an internal voltage regulator. I know that's kind of always been on the plate. So Project Spirit is not exactly your run-of-the-mill four-door anymore. She's come a long ways. We've got to update her power steering. I know when we go to do all that, I'm probably going to go get a Saginaw conversion kit. And for those who do not know, the Saginaws are for GM. Tons of parts for the GMs, and a Saginaw, power steering system is actually, lighter, cheaper, easier to maintain. And again, that'll make Project Spirit even better. And all this will be incorporated with that old inline 6, but eventually we're either going to rebuild the inline 6, which I was really seriously considering, but it's getting so hard to get the parts for the inline 6s. We're probably going to end up doing a V8 swap at this rate. Now, for longtime members of the Prince Magnum channel, the V8 swap, we're not just going to throw a 302 in. I'm sorry for those that really like the 302. I've got nothing against the 302. I've had a 302 before, and they're good, solid engines. But I just don't want to do what everybody else is doing. To me, that kind of loses the meaning if you're doing the same thing that the other guy's doing. Case in point, if you grab one of the modern day Mustang Customs, really the only thing that changes between those cars is the color of the paint, on the car. And I'm not knocking anyone who does that. That's fine. But at some point, do something that I haven't seen before. And that's why we're doing things the way that we're doing here on the Prince Magnum channel and now Sketch Squad TV. What kind of engine would I throw in there? I'm looking at possibly tracking down an old 289. For those that don't know, the 289 is what I call the quintessential Mustang engine. The 289 high output, or hypo as they sometimes called it, made its way into Mustangs all the way up until 1967. In 1968, that's when the 302 was debuted, which was just a slightly upscaled 289. So to me, just go with the original. I know later on next year we're looking at changing it over to an automatic. Not by choice, by all means. I'd rather keep her a stick. Now, unless I get lucky enough to get my hands on a 4-speed top loader, that's what we'll go with instead. But in the meantime, we're looking at an automatic. I like having a 3-speed manual. It's a lot less fiddle farting around, but but if I'm going to do any custom train, I would rather have a 4-speed, but it's so hard to get your hands on a top loader these days. That stuff isn't exactly just growing on trees anymore. It's not like anybody, it's not like Ford's making that stuff anymore. They stopped making the real good stuff at the end of the at the end of the 1970s. They really stopped making the really good stuff. Um, again, we're not going to, so again, again, if you got any car questions, what have you, I'm going to try to hop over as well to YouTube, and just in case anybody is, why did my phone do that? There we go. There we go. Take my thumb. There we go. All right. Nobody's on at the moment, but that's perfectly okay. Again, Project Spirit is, for the most part, she's very, an original. Yeah, when we got her, she was pretty much original, and you know, um, I enjoy having Project Spirit as a classic car. For the record, I'm not a Ford person, but I like the Mavericks. Um, and I know some of the people out there that in the hot rod community are like, "Oh, I'll do an LS swap." I do not like, aluminum engines, Sam. I am. Which reminds me, I need to give a special shout out to a couple of guys, real quick. Um, you know, I need to give a special shout out to, trying to remember how we pronounce, the numbers on that. I can remember, uh, multitasking here, folks. I want to give a special shout out to Raider Nation Sam, who's a recent subscriber to the Prince Magnum channel. Thank you very much, Raider Nation Sam. And while we're also on the subject, be sure to check out Raider Nation Sam's live streams. He does amazing. Yeah, he plays some really interesting video games. I was watching his stuff earlier. It was really, really awesome. Badass Matt 561, another gamer type person, does amazing stuff. That's a Texas size 10-4. Actually, I got a video where I was at this car show this last year and was doing uh, it was a charity car show, and it was at a drive-in movie theater um, right over in Cadet, Missouri. And at that drive-in movie theater, and this was just a couple days before Burt Reynolds passed away, I got to watch for the first time at a drive-in movie theater, which there's no greater experience watching Smokey and the Bandit in a drive-in movie theater. I was perched up on Project Spirit's trunk. My wife, Princess Faye, wasn't able to join us, but we got to, I got to sit up on her trunk and watch. Hey, what's going on? Be sure to check out Only 21 Gamer, recent subscriber to the Prince Magnum channel. Awesome guy. I got to see just a brief moment of some of his stuff. Really, really awesome stuff. Again, check that stuff out. While we're also on the car centric stuff, some of the things that has to be changed for Project Spirit. Since people are starting to come in, might as well go ahead and get out some parts. Okay. Now, what I'm about to show you is what we call an outer tie rod end. It's part of the steering stuff. And let me kind of break it down for you. Now, all cars will have this. This is a common, this is kind of commonplace stuff. Now, if you live in a state that has to have regular safety inspections on a vehicle, what they'll do is um, when they say you have a tie rod going bad, that's this part right here. This is one for a 19. Well, pretty much they really didn't change all that much for the Mavericks when they were brought in 1970, and they discontinued the Mavericks in 1977. But you still find this part being used on the Ford Granadas all the way up until 1980. So this is literally what it looks like, okay? And it just kind of, connects into your spindle, it'll literally bolt in right here to this connecting sleeve, and then you slip it into the spindle, and then you'll take this nut that has these funny little slots. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, like that, and just screws right down, right like that, past this little hole, and you can adjust it one way or the other. And then there's this little pin that comes through that hole, and you bend, and it holds it into place, keeps the nut from backing off, stays there from now until you take it off. Okay. The boot here, what happens is over time, is it'll wear down. Rubber, that's just the nature of rubber. So it'll wear down and start cracking, and then it won't hold the grease inside of here. Starting in the 1970s, they started bringing out what they called sealed systems. And it was designed where you didn't have to pump grease into it. Well, the problem is if you couldn't pump grease into these, they wear out within, ironically enough, 5 to 7 years, which is a commonplace thing nowadays. Okay. How you doing, studio mechanic? So again, this is kind of a commonplace, this is something that was kind of commonplace back in the day, and it's still a commonplace practice today. Kind of a heads up on, yeah. So a little bit of information there. So whenever you go to replace one of these front end parts, what you want to look for is one that has that little piece right there. It just screws right into place. You tighten it up a little bit, and that's it. Okay, now you can pump grease into this, and you can get, yep, wow, everyone's popping in. That's awesome. And so even on modern day cars, you want this little part right here, this little zert is what they call it. And it's a grease fitting. You hook a grease gun up to it, pump, a bunch of grease in, and it'll start squeezing out right around here. This part will last, 14. And what'll happen is that when you do this, it'll pump all that grease in. This part will last, I've seen upwards around 15, 20 years. It'll last a long, long, long time. And they used to do this back in the 1960s. They stopped doing it in the 70s to say, basically, if the parts are wearing out, then ironically enough, you're bringing it back to the dealership. So just kind of a heads up on that. So do yourself a favor when you replace parts, and it doesn't matter the year of the vehicle. Be sure that when it comes to suspension parts, if you can get one with a grease fitting on it, get it. Okay, that's just something that I don't think other hot rodders or mechanic channels really push that. Okay, super important that you do that. Save yourself some money and some heartache if you want to keep your vehicle a long time. As a matter of fact, our 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT Project Lena is getting ready to have to go through that stuff because the same problem, those sealed systems. I don't know why they didn't think of doing that at the time. Hey, what's going on? Follow That's right. Wow. Right. And I gave shout outs to Badass Matt, and I gave a shout out to Raider Nation Sam, because they had already given me shout outs earlier. Along with that, there's another streamer, a lady streamer. I was going to say a lady. We got a lady streamer that is now subscribed to the Prince Magnum channel. I hope she enjoys Surviving Romance too. Zombie Queen. She's. Oh, Zombie Queen? Yep. She's subscribed to the. Yep. Got to see just. Yes. So we're picking up all sorts of people who enjoy car-centric stuff. That as I like to put it. She does now. Again, and I have no problem spending time breaking down this sort of stuff. Okay. Now I will. Hey, what's up, Trick Wizard? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Again, real quick, uh, this is just, I mean, yeah, this is simple off the shelf AutoZone part. Some people think that, when you get into classic cars, that oh, you got to spend thousands of dollars on, and the title of uh, those videos are there for a reason. Do it yourself budget hot rodding, not do it yourself break your wallet hot rodding. you know, uh, Even though this whole thing's cost me close to about $500, which now that brings Project Spirit back up to, she gets a little expensive at times. But most of the time, she'll have a good breakdown, and then, when you bring her back, you know. Anyhow, while I'm also on the subject, let me slide over, and we'll put this part up. Now, again, since we're on the car centric stuff.
They're not gonna hear you until you get like right here.
Right.
They won't hear you here. They won't hear you here. They won't hear you here. They'll hear you right here.
Okay. Let's go ahead and talk thermostats. Okay.
Oh yeah. Strain free.
Okay. For those who've never seen a thermostat, and this is a thermostat that you'll find in pretty much they're the same.
Oh shit! We just got a host of 39 views, bro.
Wow.
Welcome to the Sketch Squad Antitrust Content Creator Community Incorporated, where we simplify other people's live streams and hobbies. Game for kids with disease. Stream from smartphone, as you see right now.
Yeah, we are streaming from that smartphone.
And have incentivized giveaway system. Because we're streaming from smartphone and help the consumer economy reevaluate the way we use technology and use your smartphone data, because you use unlimited data and show people how here on this live channel. In Game for Kids, we got sponsored by Origin, Razer, and NVIDIA and have incentivized a giveaway system for you to earn money. Thank you very much, guys. At 12:05 for the host. You guys get 50% commission on those orders. Just bring us the order number, you get 50%. Sometimes those computers sell for like $10,000. So they're military grade, virtual reality ready, and Razer is mice and keyboards and NVIDIA video cards. And they're starting to put NVIDIA video cards into a lot of the self-driving cars now today. I was reading today. And they put holographics into it too.
And the Prince Magnum channel is all about trying to help you get better gas mileage in your current vehicle. And we don't want you getting ripped off anymore. We don't want you getting ripped off anymore at the fuel pump or getting ripped off at the dealership. Maybe it's time to consider a good solid used car or a classic car for your daily driver.
In the Sketch Squad, we are doing our damnedest to exemplify others' hobbies and stream from smartphone. It's kind of like a all-in-one stream. You yourself could come on here if you wanted to, talk about your day-to-day hobbies and or professionalities.
So now while I think we paid some bills. We got a big congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaza.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Gaza. I appreciate it. Now let's talk thermostats for your car. Now, let me say right now, this particular thermostat costs $5,
right?
Okay, and literally it's held inside of a housing. To change this, you remove that housing. Usually 2 to 3 volts in the worst case scenario. On more modern vehicles, sometimes a little hard to get to. The job of this little guy right here is to help your engine get to a certain operating temperature. Okay.
Right.
Now, as the coolant, when you start your vehicle, it's closed just like this. Okay. Notice how it's closed right here at the top. I don't know how well y'all can see it. You can see how it's closed. Okay. Now, basically, it's a heat, and as this copper piece right here at the bottom warms up, it'll cause this thing to basically kind of pull up and open. And when it pulls up and opens, it allows the coolant to pass through, keeping it at that operating temperature. Okay. So a lot of times if your vehicle is overheating and you're constantly putting coolant in it, this is one of the first things I suggest that anyone change. Okay. More than anything, check your coolant level first. And there's some people that don't